Hello and welcome back to Smooth Traffic. You're in the right place, believe it or not. I'm going to start this episode off with a fact. This is episode 25, which means if you go back and listen to all of the previous episodes and this one 4 times, you'll actually be on Smooth Traffic episode 100. How cool is that? With me, as always, is Robert King.
Hello.
And Benny Pierce.
Delighted to be here.
Delighted to be here, as am I. On this episode, we're going to talk about fuel signs, Bentley news, Alfa Romeo news, F1 news, and we're going to rip off a BBC programme. Bentley news!
Ooh.
So, I have some Bentley news, because I like going through Bentley's press releases occasionally, and the big Bentley news is that soon you won't have to put fuel in your Bentley anymore.
Ooh, why is that?
Yeah.
Well, they'll pay it for you.
No, you still have to buy it. But they are trialling a concierge fuel service in America, whereby you say, "Hello, I own a Bentley and I'm awfully well off. Can I have some petrol, please?" And then a man or a lady will come round with a massive tank of fuel and put it into your Bentley for you. How cool is that? At your own home. Yep. So you won't actually ever have to go to a petrol station again. I think that's bloody brilliant, and it's exactly what a luxury firm such as Bentley should be doing, I think, because that is really luxurious. Imagine buying a new car, a new Bentley, and then knowing that you'll never ever have to go to a fuel station again. That must be brilliant. Although you wouldn't be able to buy 60p Turkish Delights anymore after, filling up at pump 14. So,
how would this affect my collection of club card points at the at the supermarket petrol station of choice, or Nectar points, or whatever you
Other loyalty schemes are available.
Yeah.
The exciting thing here, King, is, and this isn't official yet, but what if you can collect Bentley points?
What to use towards what?
Another Bentley. Yep.
But I've already got one.
Days out with the family.
Days out with the family. You can trade them in for double the cost off of a family day out.
Yeah.
What if, for example, Bentley said, okay, you can earn Bentley points on the concierge fuel, and if you get 100 points, you can have a bottle of Veuve Clicquot.
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah, that
would work.
That's reasonable. Yeah. Obviously, not giving me money off another Bentley, on the basis that you've perhaps worked your entire life just with the aim of owning a Bentley. Once you've got one, you don't then want to have another one.
Yeah.
Well, you would like to have another one, but you know what I mean. You don't want to then have to save up for another one or whatever. But no, yeah, bonus points. I like it.
Something to put towards,
get some Bentley points to get gifts.
Bentley points, Bentley merchandise. Days out with the family.
Like Esso used to do.
Did Esso used to do that?
Yeah, back when I was a kid, which was back in the 1840s or whatever. Yeah, Esso used to get Tiger points or something similar. And I remember my parents got me a remote controlled car with their points when I was a kid. It was amazing. I mean, who gets a remote control car from a petrol station is the question you should be asking there. But irrelevant of that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
To be fair, King, Ben gets all of his Valentine's Day gifts from petrol stations, so it's not unusual to get things from a petrol station.
But to be fair, John, Ben's the only one of us that isn't single.
This is true. It obviously works.
More Bentley news.
Ooh.
Because I almost forgot I have another piece of Bentley news, because I've been...
What a day.
Yeah, what a day. A double Bentley news day. Ooh! So, we were talking about those stores in shopping centres not long ago when we were talking about autonomous cars and how you won't actually have showrooms anymore. Bentley have opened, in Westfield Shopping Centre, a luxury personalisation studio. Yeah, I don't really know what that means either. You have to read a bit more of the press release. It's focusing, obviously, on personalisation. So you can go in there and personalise things with Bentleys. So, cars, bags, wooden things, leather things, Bentley things. Maybe you can get your own event seat in there.
I can't imagine that'd be very busy.
No, it won't be. Well, I don't know, it's London.
It's a little bit showy-offy.
If you were shopping there, would you want it to be busy? I don't think you'd want it to be busy. If you were a customer, you'd want to feel that exclusivity.
If I was a customer, I would expect them to turn up with their studio thingamajiggy to my
Bring
house.
the studio to your home.
And I would do it from the comfort of my own
Bentley's cars aren't that expensive, though, are they? And everybody in London has £150,000 to spend. So I imagine it'll be fairly busy.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, just ask anyone in the north. Does everyone in London have £150 million in their bank? Yes, otherwise we wouldn't live in London. So I imagine that'll do quite well, the Bentley London stop.
So when's that open?
It's open now.
Ah, well, if any of our listeners have been or have walked past it, let us know what it's like.
Yes, and have you bought a Bentley in there? Tweet us at Smooth Traffic, and feel free to send me a few quid as well. So, following on from Bentley news that I recycled from a couple of months ago, there is some Alfa Romeo news recycled from about a week or two ago, I think. They are launching another new car, one of many Alfas that's supposedly arriving before 2020. That's not going to happen. And they have launched their first SUV, which is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. And of course, being Alfa Romeo and following the Giulia's impact, they've launched the Quadrifoglio version first, King. And I'm sure you've seen this 510 brake horsepower SUV. Looks fairly chunky, fairly tankish. What do you think? Because you're the biggest Alfa head of the three of us. And I figured you'd probably have some rather strong opinions on this, because surely this doesn't go well with your traditional Alfa romantic image that you hold.
Well, I mean, you know that I'm not a huge fan of SUVs at the best of times. I don't think any of us are particularly. I mean, it's a very striking looking vehicle, obviously, and it's not really as tall as you'd kind of want an SUV to be if you were looking for an SUV.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's almost like they've just taken the Giulia, put a hatchback on it, and they made it ever so slightly taller and a bit squat. I'm not particularly enthused by it, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
But it looks to me a bit, from the back end, it looks a bit like a Mercedes A-Class to me.
Mm.
And from the front end, it looks like, a tall, slightly squat Giulia. So my jury is definitely still out on this. I think it's common sense to try and break into the SUV market on the basis that that's what's popular at the moment, and Alfa need to get sales in the bag. But on the flip side of it, I mean, looking at it first off, is it even an SUV? It's barely a crossover looking at it.
Mm. Also, you don't buy an Alfa for practicality and getting the family in the back, do you? It's not really, doesn't seem to work with their ethos.
No, exactly. It's for being saucy and generally a bit of a moron when it comes to spending too much money on something that ultimately will cost you excessively.
Yeah. And you wouldn't want to put your family in that, because it would quite frankly fall apart. The kids would play with the door handles and they'd fall off, wouldn't they?
Well,
just like in your car.
Quite possibly.
The Me Too.
It's not the door handles,
You know what they do, Ben? They try and adjust the seat because the seats are so incredibly uncomfortable, and then the handle would come off in their hand, and then the driver of that car would then shout at you for braking his car, even though all you've tried to do is use one of the controls.
Do you know, I was about to launch into a tirade at you then, John, and I thought, no, there's just no point.
That's a shame. I was trying to bait you, but
moving swiftly on. Despite the fact that you're a complete and utter moron who can't operate a small swivel switch on a chair.
See what I mean, Ben?
To the extent that you snap it off. Not to mention the fact that you think the seats are uncomfortable. Irrelevant of all of that, you absolute cretin. What are your thoughts on the Stelvio?
He's going to leave that, don't worry.
Well, unlike you, King, I can't resist being baited. You know when you said I snapped the handle off of your seat in your Mito?
John, just leave it. We're trying to talk about the Stelvio.
Has it been? Was it reattachable afterwards?
Yes.
Yes. So I didn't snap it then, did I, Ben?
It's just poorly put on.
Well, no, you removed it.
I removed it.
You forcibly removed it.
King, if I want to adjust my seat, I think the handle to do so should work and should really stay on. But because...
John, you were doing it wrong.
Jonny, have you ever accidentally removed pieces of your BMW? Or, any of the
Oh, that's not a fair comparison,
No,
Ben.
I don't think I have, Ben. Ben, did you ever snap the handle off your Peugeot 106 when you tried to adjust the seats in that? Because that's probably about the same build quality.
Probably, and no. Nor did my rusty old Fiesta ever have any bits fall off.
So it's just King's Alpha.
It didn't fall off, Ben. John tore it off. But as I say, I'm not going to let it bait me.
It doesn't get to you, does it?
No.
Yeah, pretty laid back about all this.
I'll be the bigger man here. It's clearly my fault, and I'm very, very sorry, King. And
Just too damn strong, aren't you?
I'm
Excellent.
too strong and hunky, and I will of course buy you a pint next time I'm in Bath to make up for the fact that I have twice vandalised your car, unprovoked. Anyway,
When was the other time? No, I probably don't want to know. So yeah, let's talk Stelvio.
The
and
Stelvio.
For everyone listening, take note that John admitted guilt. Therefore, I will be using this in court.
you're going to have to use this in court as well, King, because I've got a bit of a controversial opinion here. I actually prefer the looks of the Alfa Stelvio to the Alfa Giulia.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, which I figured would probably upset you. I hope it doesn't upset you too much after we've just talked about vandalising your car. But I think it's better proportioned. And I actually think for an SUV, it's really, really good looking. It seems to work better. But, I mean, do you remember when we went to Frankfurt and we saw the Giulia in the metal? And I said to you at the time, like, I'm really desperate to see what it looks like without all this tarted up, aero and, super aggressive body kit from the sports version. It's the same with this. I mean, this one is really aggressive. For an SUV, that is an incredibly aggressive design. Reminds me a bit of the Lamborghini Urus, actually, which we still haven't seen, probably because it's never going to come out. But I think this car could be very, very good. One of my favourite cars I've ever driven was a Porsche Macan Turbo, which was just a brilliant, brilliant car. And I imagine this will be something fairly similar, but possibly a little bit more... how can I say it without being mean? It won't be as nice on the inside as a Porsche. But, I mean, it looks great. I just want to see what one looks like with an ordinary diesel engine in it and a non-cloverleaf pack, really. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens there. The interior looks much like the Giulia. I hope they improve the materials, but I doubt they will somehow. But I quite like it. Do you have any opinion on it, Ben?
I largely agree with King there. It doesn't look like an SUV to me, but I don't dislike the look of the car. I just think it doesn't feel like it's big enough or anything to be considered an SUV. But it bothers me, the build quality of the Alfa.
Yeah.
Even with the ones we've seen at the what was it we saw at Goodwood? Was it the Giulia?
Yeah, Giulia at
Goodwood.
Goodwood.
Like, some of the joins on the dash and stuff were just off. It's just that's just lazy, in my opinion.
You always have that nagging doubt with Alfa and Fiat and other Italian car companies. You probably even get a nagging doubt with Maserati. But I really hope it pays off for them, because obviously we all love Alfa. If you like cars, I think you like Alfa Romeo. I can see what King means by saying it doesn't really look like an SUV. It does just look like a very, very large hatchback, I would say. But I guess once the more tame models come in, it will look more of an SUV than before, because I think that's probably been lowered quite significantly, and I think probably the wheels are that little bit too big there, probably to get the enormous Brembo brakes underneath. But 510 horsepower in a SUV, not really necessary anyway. I'd rather have a very nice diesel engine in that instead, and not have to worry about stopping off at the pumps. Well, then maybe they'll do a concierge fuel service as well. Maybe it'll catch on. Alpha tokens, King?
I could get behind Alpha tokens, but they're no Tiger tokens. God bless Esso. On your point about that, though, John, surely the statement about the diesel engine is exactly why you shouldn't be getting an Alfa SUV. Because you don't want an Alfa with a diesel engine.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's
therefore, why buy one at all? I don't dislike the look of the Stelvio. I just don't. I'm very nonplussed about it, in all honesty. And yeah, as I've already said, not a huge fan of SUVs. But your point is valid in that you'd want to get one with a diesel engine. And why get a diesel Alfa?
Exactly, because you should never buy an Alfa with a diesel engine. That's just the rule. So does that rule out an Alfa SUV? Possibly. Also, I mean, maybe they'll make a smaller petrol engine for it. Who knows? But then, you want an Alfa to have a little bit of character, don't you? And I think that is the only engine that will give you character. But will it be as good as a Porsche Macan, which is one of the best SUVs ever made? I don't think so. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But
I don't think that's a fair comparison. I don't think it'd be fair to compare it to, take your pick, probably. Let's be honest.
Ben, I think we've got King a bit down on Alfa now.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I think so. Seems a bit.
No. Yeah, but as you were saying before, You've always got that nagging doubt about Alfa. It's true. I've got that nagging doubt every morning when I get in to start it, and the Mito's never given me any trouble with that. But you just learn from having owned an older Alfa, as I did previously. You just learn that you can never quite trust what's going to happen first thing in the morning, or first thing in the afternoon, or first thing in the evening,
or when you want to adjust your seat.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, chaps, today's big question. You ready for it? I want a simple yes or no answer to this.
Ooh.
All right. See if you can stick to that.
This will be a quick segment.
Yeah.
Johnny first. You answer first, then Kingy.
Oh,
right.
All right.
Do the fancy gadgets that we have on cars these days make us bad drivers?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much for listening.
And don't forget to tweet us at Smooth.
What about you, Ben? What do you think?
No, I genuinely think they do.
Good.
I think too often we're giving extra, things like cameras and sensors and automatic everything. I just think generally it's making, it certainly makes me a worse driver. I think because I rely on the gadgets rather than actually, paying full attention like I would have done, 6 years ago. But
I've got an interesting example on this.
Okay.
The other day, John came to visit me
Yeah.
in his Audi A4, whatever it is.
Yep.
And we went to the local supermarché, got into the car park, and then John pulled up next to a space and then told the car to park itself. Which it did. It parked itself perfectly in a bay.
Yeah.
Probably took 2, maybe 3 minutes to finally finish, go in and out, to make sure it was happy.
Yeah.
Now, it
Which
was
is clever.
extremely impressive. Extremely impressive. And I said to you at the time, didn't I, John, that I was impressed by that. But you or I, John, if we'd done it ourselves, could have done that in 30 seconds and job done.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of people out there who cannot park to save their lives. And things like this are ideal for people like that. However, my concern with it is that, people who can park and people who can drive, things like that will just make them think, well, I'll just let the car do it. And then we all become a bit lazier and we all just end up being terrible drivers.
So I think the parking side of it, that's fair enough. If you're pretty dreadful at parallel parking, it might be useful. The things that bothered me the most, I think, are those, like the blind spot warning indicators and things like that. So it beeps at you when someone's in your blind spot. I mean, that shouldn't be necessary. It doesn't take much to, look over your shoulder. And that, I think, can make people a dangerous driver by not having enough awareness of them, when they're driving. Like on motorways and things, you shouldn't be told that someone's in your blind spot. You should bloody well know that already. I think that's dangerous when you start taking away that sort of level of thinking from the game.
It is, but I'll tell you one time where blind spot monitoring was absolutely crucial was on One Tank to Frank when we were driving through those horrendous rainstorms, Kingy, and visibility was what it was. It was near enough non-existent, and we had localized flooding on the motorway. We had like the mist to go with the heavy rain, and you didn't have time to look over your shoulder because it was so scary what was happening in front of you. Having that little orange light just flash now and then to let you know someone was there, it was most helpful. And actually it was pretty hard to see if anyone was in the lanes next to you, never mind what was in front. I don't know how you found that, King, on that trip, but I remember seeing that blind spot monitoring system working on that horrendous thunderstorm or 7, and then thinking, oh, thank God for that.
Don't get me wrong, obviously a lot of these things are extremely useful tools, and there are always going to be certain situations where they're going to be far more beneficial than you turning your head will be, and that's probably a very good example, John. But I still think in the wider world, the difference between someone turning their head to look out the window and just thinking, well, if there's something there, the light will come on. I mean, what if the blind spot monitoring system breaks suddenly? Are people just then going to not look or not pull out because their thing's not working? I mean,
I think if you're a certain age, like I think if you're over 25, I think maybe the youngsters have got it slightly easier now because a lot of the cars that are coming, into that area where you can buy as your first car, a lot of them do have the gadgets. Whereas when we bought our first cars, most of our cars had nothing really except a radio.
I don't think I had power steering in mine.
Yeah,
I didn't have power steering in my first car. But surely that's worse, John. If the younger people of today are immediately getting cars that have got all of these fancy additions, surely that's worse. Because although there's potential for us to become lazy with our driving, at least we know how to look over our shoulder. Yeah,
exactly. Because we've grown up having to multitask at the wheel. I think, having to make sure the lights are on. Check the wipers. Look over your shoulder. Anticipate a loss of grip potentially because we didn't have traction control systems. For example,
I still have to do all that in the Mito, so I wouldn't worry about that.
But I think if we need to, we can step our game up to deal with horrendous weather conditions and unexpected incidents happening on the road and stuff. But I'm not sure the younger people can because they're not used to it. And furthermore, I think we're of the age where we were the last young people who really, really were excited by and thrilled to get cars as well. Whereas a lot of younger people now aren't so excited by cars. Well, that seems to be the general consensus amongst the journalists and thinkers of the profession anyway. So it definitely makes you a worse driver, but at the same time, it might keep you a driver and not a dead person because they've got the ability to save lives as well. So I think what I would say to any younger person, because I think it is going to be mostly the younger people who are going to suffer from this lack of skill behind the wheel, should we say, is go to a circuit or do an advanced driver course and learn what it feels like to be involved in something that you don't expect to happen, or go to somewhere like the Porsche Experience Centre, for example, where they've got the kick plate, and see the difference between a car with traction control turned off and a car with traction control turned on, and just see how different that is and see how this technology works and see what a difference it can make. Because
one day it might fail on you and it'd be good to know what will happen.
It's good to know what to do and the basic techniques. I think the more basic techniques you know, the better. I think I've definitely become a better driver since becoming a motoring writer, purely because I've been able to talk to professional drivers and had professional drivers teach me things. Whereas before we didn't have that at all. I would have had to do the advanced driver course or something like that, and not many people want to go out and pay for that, to be quite honest. And I can't blame them because money's quite hard to come by, isn't it? So unless you live in London, but I think it's important to go and experience these things, and hopefully manufacturers one day will give younger people the opportunity to do that as well, because I think it's not only is it an interesting history lesson, but you could learn a thing or two that might help you out one day when something unplanned or something bad happens.
So are we kind of concluding then that, answering my original question, I suppose, is that yes, it does make you a worse driver, but actually these gadgets can help, so use them wisely and also learn how to drive a car without needing them, I suppose. Drive a Caterham.
Drive a Caterham.
Oh, yeah,
definitely drive a Caterham. That is a real eye-opener, I tell you. But definitely. I mean, the gadgets are necessary. They're here to stay. They'll only get better and more intelligent, should we say? So, and they've definitely made you a better driver, Ben. So,
Chaps, I'm annoyed.
Ooh.
I think some money is being wasted.
No!
On the M5, King, there are signs telling you what the petrol prices are at the next service stations, the next 2 or 3 down the line.
Yeah, I know, I've seen them.
What's the point? Why are we spending money on that?
Well, it's to tell people how much the petrol prices are.
But who's buying fuel on a motorway unless they absolutely have to? And if they absolutely have to, what do they care that the next 3 petrol stations, the price is exactly the same? I don't know. I don't understand the point. How much money is it costing to erect those signs and keep them with a live feed just to potentially save someone a penny a litre? I just don't get it. What is the point?
I agree 100% with you, Ben, because all that these signs say is petrol, expensive. Diesel, expensive. And then 2 miles later, expensive. Rip-off. Fleeced. That's all they say. So,
if it said, take the next junction, drive half a mile, and there's a Sainsbury's and it's 20p cheaper, then that's helpful. But just telling you what it's like... I mean, genuinely, do you ever fill up on a motorway? Because if I'm short and I need to, I'll stick in like 10 quid, just enough to get me home.
I filled up once on a motorway.
How was that? I'm not sure what to say.
Did you buy a 60p Turkish Delight? Oh no, sorry, it's a service station. Did you buy a £1.80 Turkish Delight?
No, I didn't, John. I was actually on my way to your place, Ben.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was getting a bit of concern over whether I had enough petrol left to get all the way. So yeah, I had to stop in and top up with just a couple of litres.
Yeah, so you top
just
up
to see me through.
I just think it's pointless, and they're trialling it to see if people like it, and then they're going to roll it out. Is it the Highways England or whatever they call themselves?
What a waste of money! It's ridiculous, isn't it? And look, this whole thing with the smart motorways as well. It's all a complete waste of money. Stop spending. You know who spent this money? Londoners. People in London think this is a very, very good idea, but let's try it on the M5 to give the peasants something to look at as they drive past. Expensive, rip-off, line our pockets, you bastards. That's all it needs to say. If they said that, it would actually be, more entertaining for us.
What's a smart motorway?
You know what they've got around Bristol, King? With variable speed limits, basically.
Right, okay, yeah.
That's a smart motorway. What a smart motorway basically is...
King thought it was one you could turn on with an app.
What a smart motorway basically is a system of ripping off drivers by making the speed limit 50 here, 70 there, 60 there, 50 here, 70 there, 60 there, 42 there for some reason. And
I don't think that's ripping anyone off.
No, eventually it will, because you're concentrating on the heavy traffic, and then before you know it, you've gone into a zone where the speed limit has suddenly dropped to 40 and you're still doing 60 because 100 yards ago it was 60. So it's just a way for the government to make more money out of motorists, because it's bad PR to put the duty up further.
I refer you back to our previous discussion about how gadgets make us bad drivers. You should be keeping an eye on everything, John, not just the traffic. You've got into a bad habit there. You're not paying attention to signs.
Touche. I need to have a long look.
You're relying on your car to tell you what the speed limit is.
Ben, King said he had to stop for fuel on the way to your place. You know why that is, don't you?
You weren't invited, John. That's why you weren't there, just for reference.
It's because the Alfa fuel gauge isn't actually that accurate. So it gets to a certain point and King genuinely doesn't know how much fuel he's got in there. Because 1 minute it will say quarter, the next minute it will say nothing. But when it says nothing, it might mean it's got 20 litres. Or it might mean it's got nothing. So that's why King had to pop in and squirt a couple of litres in.
I don't think you can talk much about fuel gauges after your incident in the cater room. But we'll move on.
That wasn't my fault. Curse you, Caterham, and your inability to make anything reliable. But seriously, love you guys. Keep doing what you do.
Right then, chaps, it's time for the missing word round. This week...
Hang on. This is from something else, isn't it? The missing word round? Have you stolen this?
My Boris Johnson.
This is entirely unique. Never been done before, ever. Honest. Because I think if it was ever done before, it was probably newspapers, and this is definitely not a newspaper.
Okay.
So on Twitter...
Nice.
I found a tweet, and a word is missing. So I'll apologise in advance to CJ, at Tales of an Alpha. I've nicked a tweet from you. Guess the missing word, chaps. I've decided I'm going to try and change my what more often from next year. #variety.
Trousers.
No.
He's an Alpha fan, King. Come on.
Petrol.
I've decided I'm going to try and change my seat adjustment handles more often from next year.
Again, I'm not sure that's a single word, but you're on the right line.
Engine. Exhaust.
I mean, to be fair, trousers is almost appropriate, because if you do drive an Alpha regularly, you probably do need a regular change.
Boo!
When your brake pedal falls off or something like that.
Well, if CJ's anything like me, then the word is probably friends.
Again, close but no cigar.
I've decided I'm going to try and change my brand of car more often from next year.
That's close enough.
That should be something.
So the answer is fleet.
Is it fleet?
So he's going to decided to try and change his fleet more often from next year.
That makes sense. So CJ's going to look into, getting probably a Unos Roadster or something, I imagine.
Well, see, you're a man who's decided that he needed a fleet all of a sudden and now has 3 cars.
Yeah, that's it's not going down well with the neighbours. I need a yard. Can we get a yard?
Smooth traffic yard. See what we can do.
Nice.
Makes it sound like a building firm. Oh, did you pop down the smooth traffic yard the other day? Yeah,
Please.
they got no bloody joists left.
Imagine if we had a building firm. Imagine the possibilities, King.
I'm imagining you trying to figure out what a joist is.
I don't know what a joist is.
There we go.
Is that something you lift something up with?
That's a hoist.
Is that what medieval people used to do?
I mean, this might be the best quiz ever, just because it gives us a chance to poke fun at John.
Is that what a nice cake is sometimes?
And we're playing rhymes with.
John doesn't understand the word rhyme.
Yes, indeed. Anyway,
sorry. Yes. So
good work. Thank you, CJ, for letting us borrow your tweet for this.
did he ever say in it? Did he?
No, he didn't at all.
Okay.
But thank you anyway. Thanks in anticipation.
Yes, CJ, the contract's in the post, and by in the post we mean it's never coming. So just don't complain about this, please.
Please. Yeah, if you have a problem with this, please tweet at the Jonny Edge. And we'll go from there.
Recently, the Formula 1 World Championship of 2016 came to an end, and Nico Rosberg was crowned Champion of the World. And then he retired. Thoughts on this, John? The man who always has an opinion on absolutely everything.
I like to think that if Smooth Traffic ever reached 26 episodes, I'd retire.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Many people.
If anyone wants that to happen, do please tweet us at Smooth Traffic.
Actually, better still, if you want it to happen, don't tweet us. Because I think we get more people not tweeting us. of the 400 million Twitter users.
Well,
Oh, I thought you were suggesting don't tweet us and don't listen anymore.
No, please listen, but we take your silence as a vote for Jonny to leave, is what I'm saying.
yeah. My fans will come out in force by being silent. I'm really pleased for Nico to win the championship. I think it's great. It'll be a big weight off his shoulders, I think, and I think retirement is a pretty sensible decision. Really, he's still young, so he could do other things if he wanted to. He's got out of it, I think, at a good time because F1 is not particularly good. He's got a teammate who is an absolute dick. So, why would he want to do it again? Once you've won the world title, what else is there? I mean, some drivers have this massive hunger to win 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I don't necessarily see the point because you can't ever confirm yourself as the greatest of all time. Michael Schumacher's won 7 world titles and people still don't think he's the best driver of all time. Some people think Prost, some people think Senna, some people think Schumacher, some people think Damon Hill, some people think Johnny Herbert. It's opinions. So I think it's probably...
Some people think Felipe Massa was a pretty swell guy.
He was a swell guy, and what a lovely end to his career as well.
Well, I think he still is a swell guy. We're talking about him like he's suddenly...
No, he's a bastard now, King. He come out of the Grand Prix and punched a kitten in the mouth. So, he's 100% bastard now.
Crikey.
Yeah, big turn of character. Apparently it was just F1 keeping him on the straight and narrow. Same with Jenson Button. He's actually done a choke slam on a giraffe, which is pretty impressive.
Easily the most slanderous segment ever to appear on Smooth Traffic.
Oh yeah, and Bernie Ecclestone wants nuclear war as well, but that's another story for another day. No, I think it's the right thing to do. So I'm really pleased for him. I think he's handled himself like an absolute gent the whole season, which is far more than what Lewis Hamilton can say, because he's handled himself like an absolute dick for most of his career, most of his life. Yeah, good on Nico.
I couldn't agree more in terms of Nico retiring. I think, it's a brave decision to go out when you're on top, and he's been smart enough to do that. He can always then tell people that he is undisputed champion of the world in Formula 1, because nobody's going to beat him again. So genius.
Is that how F1 works?
However, regarding your yeah, it's like boxing, John. Regarding your opinions on Lewis Hamilton, as you know, I'm not Hamilton's biggest fan, but I've developed a bit of respect for him towards the second half of this season, because I think genuinely he's actually carried himself in a very professional manner, and I think he's got, he's kept his head down. He's just tried to get back into the title race, and genuinely I think he was focused on racing again rather than the sort of circus atmosphere that it suggested sort of follows him around a bit.
So what about the time when he thought his team were plotting against him after Malaysia? What about that time he was Snapchatting in a press conference making a mockery of the whole occasion? What about that time he left a press conference because he was in a bad mood? I mean, if you can explain that, King. Or maybe you're just a bandwagoner. Are you bandwagoning, King? Live on Smooth Traffic?
Do you know what? I'm going to be baited.
Are you hashtag Team LH?
Because I've spent this whole episode not being baited by your petty little comments. But this is it now.
I knew he'd crack eventually. This is brilliant.
I'm not saying that I'm Lewis's biggest fan. I'm not even saying that I'm a fan of him. I'm just saying
Team
that
LH.
the second half of the season, I think he's shown himself to be a far more professional driver than perhaps I'd certainly given him credit for. So, tip of the hat to him for that. Further to that, I'm confident, John, that if you were a Formula 1 driver, that is exactly how you would behave. Because that's how you behave in everyday life, and you're not a Formula 1 driver. Disrespectful to everyone that you meet. Upsetting people at every turn. And driving quite fast.
Oh, thank you. I like to think I, get a shift on when I'm in the car. That's lovely.
And taking compliments from general comments that are meant to put you down.
It's difficult to put me down when you've just said I'm fast.
Your ego knows no bounds.
That's really good. I was going to say something intelligent, but I can't remember what it was now. Because actually, what I was going to say is that I think Hamilton did the right thing in the last race of the season by trying to back Nico up into the pack.
No, you can't say that though, John. It's not allowed.
Why? Do I have to be rude?
No, it's just not allowed.
Why is it not allowed, King? Explain.
I don't need a reason. You don't need a reason, so I don't need a reason. It's just not allowed.
It's not allowed. Okay, so I can't talk about Lewis Hamilton's tactics in the last race of the season.
No, you're not allowed to compliment him now because it's not allowed.
In which case, I think Hamilton is a bit of a dick because I don't like his hair.
I just can't win.
Have you noticed, by the way, he's definitely had a hair transplant? Lewis Hamilton. Oh, and he crashed that car in Monaco while he was drunk as well, but no one wants to talk about that either.
So yeah, if anyone's lawyers are listening, Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, Felipe Massa, do get in touch with Jonathan Edge at the Johnny Edge. Don't bother tweeting at Smooth Traffic because Ben and I have got nothing to do with this.
No.
King, this is all going to get edited out, isn't it?
No. If you need a character witness, then do call Ben or I, because we'll be more than happy to testify against Ben. No, against John. That's the one.
And if you would like to donate to Rob King's early onset fund, please do tweet us at Smooth Traffic. Just £2 a month can help Rob Google something he's forgotten. Thank you. Well, that concludes the end of the show here, and our winner tonight is King with 8 points. Well done, King. Unlucky Ben, only 4 points for you. And I leave you with news that Bentley is planning yet another event seat. Oh no, there has to be a picture. Do you have the picture? Oh, never mind. Anyway, thank you very much for watching Have I Got News For You, and until next time, we'll see you on the political stage somewhere with a picture of something funny. Bye-bye.